Hey dude, are you into film?
What?
The skit? Are you ready to shoot the skit?
Oh, right. To be honest, I don't really feel like it.
Come on, you've been doing this for 4 years. You can't quit in the final one.
I mean, but do we really need a skit though? The review is what really matters, after all.
But wouldn't that be really lazy and contrived?
Rise of Skywalker. Wow. I went in with 0 expectations and I was still disappointed. How on earth could they greenlight a trilogy of movies in the biggest franchise in the world with no plan whatsoever? This review will be quite messy, to say the least. But hey, that's a trait it shares with the movie at least. This movie perfectly represents what I've been saying for a long ass time, that Hollywood is almost completely deprived of creativity. I've ripped on the prequels, yes, they were bad, but they still had a vision. They stuck to their idea throughout all 3 films. The sequel trilogy has no vision to speak of, and, as we all know,
you have paid the price for your lack of vision.
The prequels are flash without substance, while the sequels possess neither qualities. These 3 movies could have turned out so great. It had a rocky start with The Force Awakens, but there was something in there. The casting was great, the actors had tons of chemistry with each other, and all of it wasted. If The Last Jedi killed Star Wars, as we've heard on multiple occasions, Rise of Skywalker went munging on its corpse. So, after The Last Jedi disaster with tons of shit that breaks canon, this movie was in full damage control mode at all times, desperately trying to fix previous faults. And it feels weird that the concluding chapter of 9 movies is mostly trying to fix the screw-ups from the last 2 movies, instead of fucking concluding the damn thing. The following character arcs are completely blown the fuck out. Finn, a stormtrooper defecting turned good, wasted. Poe, the new token pilot trying to fill the role of leader, wasted. Kylo Ren, Vader's grandchild desperately wanting to live up to the legendary Dark Lord, wasted. And so on and so on. If I were to talk about every wasted potential in characters in this video would be 6 hours long.
But at least it would be shorter than The Rise of Skywalker.
Almost none of the sequel characters are given anything to do, yet they still introduce like 6 new characters, also with nothing to do. So The Last Jedi ignores almost everything that was set up in The Force Awakens, right? Well, The Rise of Skywalker ignores almost everything that was set up in The Last Jedi and tries to make up for it by just vomiting expositional garbage at you. So what it boils down to is that they reset the story 2 times, starting the 3rd movie with Zip and trying to establish the whole fucking enchilada within 1 film. And there is so much shit crammed into this one that I felt motion sick. There's enough stuff in here to make a 4-hour long movie, and yet they speed through it all like pacing doesn't fucking matter. After the first act concluded, I have forgotten what the fuck I was watching, since it's so choppy. You go from one exposition dump to the next, with no time to process. They tried to establish so much shit in a very short time span, so it's really hard to process what the hell is going on before moving on to the next set of things. They don't take half a second to let anything they establish breathe. It's basically a MacGuffin hunt. They gotta go find a thing that will lead them to a thing that will lead them to a planet where a thing is that they need to blow up before they lose. There is always an exhaust port, a shield generator, or a thermal oscillator that they need to blow up before the super laser kills everyone. Every fucking time. So here's a list of dumb shit that makes no sense. Palpatine's first scene is utter garbage. They never explain how he survived at the end of Return of the Jedi. All they do is use a line verbatim from another shit scene from the prequels.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Due to Palpatine surviving, it ruins the sacrifice of Anakin at the end of Return of the Jedi. Wasn't that prophecy that he would destroy the Sith? Well, the Sith apparently just fucked off for 30 years. Now they're back, and Rey has to deal with them. How the hell did this Final Order fleet get built? Where did those resources come from? Who built them? How are there so many people operating them? Did they live there for 30 years? With what food? There are no shipyards over there what I could see. Remember when the Death Star needed to be moon-sized in order to destroy a planet? Well, now they can just strap a super laser onto a Star Destroyer and have the same results. The Knights of Ren. Who are they? Where did they come from? Okay, I guess they died then. A random rebel says, let's just do the Holdo maneuver again. It worked out really well last time. Everyone else just goes, no. That's just 1 in a million. Well, isn't that just convenient for the plot? Would have been hilarious if the finalizer just tilted slightly when they were running across its hull with the horses. Force healing is a thing now, a power never seen in the movies up until now. This removes all the tension since no one can die anymore. Sure would have been handy here. Or here. Or here. Here are my two favorites. These are the ones that broke me. These two made me burst out laughing in the theater. Luke tells Rey off for throwing away her lightsaber in anger. Yet, in the previous movie, Luke did this. This has got to be trolling on J.J. Abrams' part. I don't see it being anything else. Rey kissing Kylo. Let's be honest, this was shoved in there to appease the Reylo shippers, even though it made no sense story-wise. Rey has fucking despised Kylo throughout this whole trilogy.
You're a monster. I'm gonna pay for what you did. Murderous snake.
But now at the end, she's like... So, in retrospect, there is no drama, no tension, or anything engaging really. The supposed threat of the movie is so surrounded with plot holes that it loses its point. Not to mention that Rey, who already has the status of a god, is more overpowered than ever. This movie manages to go in all different directions, yet went nowhere. All over the place, yet accomplished nothing. There was a lot of things to cover in this review, and I'm sure I missed some things. Actually, I did! Here is my extended cut of my Rise of Skywalker review. Light speed skipping is a thing now. Poe tries to get away from the TIE fighters, but they track them, so Poe makes random jump after random jump to try and lose them. This is complete bullshit, since they established in A New Hope that they need precise calculations from the Navi computer to make the jump.
Traveling through hyperspace ain't like dust and crops, boy. Without precise calculations, we'd fly right through a star or bounce too close to a supernova and that'd end your trip real quick, wouldn't you?
But I will give the movie the benefit of the doubt and say they can jump randomly. Space is mostly empty. There is no fucking way he would jump 4 different times at random and end up on a different planet each time. Not to mention, travel time is a thing too. You don't just teleport. The odds are simply too small.
Never tell me the odds.
So after the Resistance confirms that Palpatine is back, Mary is like...
Cloning? Secrets only the Sith knew.
What about Camino? The sole fucking thing they are known for is cloning. Not to mention the galactic scale war that was fought not 50 years ago with one side being clone troopers. They fly now.
Oh, they fly now!
They fly now?
They fly now!
When Rey picks up the dagger, she senses that it has done terrible things, while currently holding the lightsaber that did this. Kylo Ren and Rey playing tug of war with the transport ship when Rey suddenly shoots force lightning out of her fingers. Force lightning is a deep dark side power. You have to be very immersed with the dark side to wield it properly. You can't just become angry and then shoot it right away. But the movie thinks its audience is stupid, so they gotta foreshadow the twist somehow. This sorry character wants to kill Poe for something he did in the past. Rey kicks the shit out of Sori and her gang, but Sori's like, yeah, I like you.
Not that you care, but I think you're okay.
That's a typical Mary Sue trait. No matter what they do, everyone just seems to like them. So they're going to board Kylo Ren's flagship, the Finalizer, and this Sori character comes out of nowhere and is like, hey, I have this priceless coin that will conveniently grant you access anywhere within the First Order, and I need it to get off this planet I've been meaning to get away from my whole life. But fuck it, I'll just give this to you absolutely free of charge. Good luck. So they board the finalizer with their nasty looking ship, and all they needed was this coin thing.
Do they have a code clearance?
It's an older code, sir, but it checks out.
So, two stormtroopers walk up to the suspicious looking ship and are immediately shot by our heroes, who run out of the ship, start shooting everything and everyone in their path. Wouldn't this trigger some sort of ship-wide alert? Sir, there's blaster fire in Hangar 4. Activate ray shields and send a squad down there. So the dagger points them to the Endor system where the Wayfinder is supposed to be. So they go down to the planet and find the wreckage of the Death Star. Let me summarize this. So the system is called the Endor system because the planet is called Endor. Okay, makes sense. So the Death Star was in orbit around the forest moon of Endor, i.e. not Endor itself. The Death Star gets completely vaporized in orbit around the forest moon. But somehow huge chunks of it land on a completely different moon of Endor.
What? What the fuck?
So the way this works, to find the Wayfinder, you need to have the knife and you need to stand at the exact right spot, otherwise this won't work. You need to hold up the knife in front of the wreckage, and then the wreckage is gonna line up with the knife, and the knife is gonna point you to where inside the wreckage this Wayfinder is. But that's not gonna work 30 years after you made this knife, because erosion is a thing. The wreckage won't stay the same. So Rey, who has lived her whole life on a planet of just desert, has the knowledge not only to swim, but to steer a boat better than the people who steer these boats for a living. Luke lifts his old X-Wing from the water. It has been sitting in there for who knows how many years, but of course it's fully functional. And Rey just digs out the Wayfinder from the ship that she burnt, and the Wayfinder's fine, of course. The ship burned, but the Wayfinder inside of the ship is completely fine. She just plugs it into Luke's X-Wing, and then she's off. So, at one point, Palpatine starts getting bored, so he orders one of his Star Destroyers to destroy the same planet that Zori was on, Kajimi or whatever. So, that thing gets blown up, and now Zori is dead, I guess. But later, during the final battle, she shows up in her ship of her own. But didn't she need that coin thing she gave to Poe to get off the planet? Where did she get a ship? If she had a ship, she could have gotten off planet. She didn't need the fucking coin. Who wrote this fucking movie? I've already talked about how ridiculous it is that now every Star Destroyer can destroy a planet. This new ship class, called the Zystem class, is basically just an upscaled CG model of a regular ISD-1 from Rogue One. Because the VFX team couldn't be bothered to design a new ship, so they just took an old model that they had and scaled it up. But if it's an upscale, that makes no sense in universe, since everything is upscaled. That means that windows and internal compartments and such also get upscaled. So the bridge on this new ship must look something like this. So, Kylo gets to Exegol. How exactly? Well, with an Empire-era TIE fighter. Strap yourselves in, boys. This is my absolute favorite in the whole movie. So let's recap again. So the system is called the Endor system because the planet is called Endor. So the Death Star was in orbit around the forest moon of Endor, i.e. not Endor itself. The Death Star gets completely vaporized in orbit around the forest moon. But somehow huge chunks of it land on a completely different moon of Endor. The wreckage sits in the ocean for 30 years and is presumably looted and scavenged a lot during that time, not to mention erosion. Kylo then finds a completely intact 30-year-old TIE fighter that works without a problem inside this wreckage, and the worst thing is that this type of TIE fighter does not have a hyperdrive at all, so it's impossible to reach Exegol with it anyway. So Kylo runs around Exegol shooting troopers left and right, when suddenly the Knights of Ren show up. And then Kylo's blaster is just gone. They just removed it, because if he still had it, he could have just shot the Knights of Ren and it would have been over with. Either way, Palpatine just force sucks them, and now he's back to full power. He gets a nice change of wardrobes, he gets his eyes and he gets his fucking teeth back from this suck. Then he blasts into the air with Force Lightning and fucking obliterates the Resistance fleet. But not the main characters though, just the extras. Then Rey pulls out a lightsaber and blocks this fleet-killing lightning coming at her. She just blocks it, but it's too much, man. Then she gathers strength, she summons all the Jedi's powers into her, blah blah, and she pulls out a second lightsaber and like crosses them, and then BAM! Now she has the power and deflects all the fucking lightning back to Palpatine, who then just disintegrates. Like, bruh, Palpatine, if you're shooting lightning and it's being deflected back at you, you stop shooting the lightning. You stop shooting lightning, and then you just crush her internal organs with the Force, since you can clearly ragdoll her. Later, back at the Resistance base, when everyone is all happy and jolly, and there's a lesbian couple in the background kissing. Blah blah blah, Star Wars progressive, Mouse Company good. Except this was cut from certain versions of the movie to avoid controversy.
Well, kudos to Disney for taking this brave but still safe marketing decision.
Disney is very inclusive, but not too inclusive.
Remember when they shrank down Finn on the Force Awakens poster in China?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Remember when they fucking covered up T'Challa's face in the Black Panther poster? Yeah, Mouse Company good. There is truly something as passive-progressive. They're only progressive when it suits them, when it makes them money. Otherwise, your progressive worldviews can go fuck themselves. And to get to the final part of the movie, the thing that pretty much everyone hates the most. Rey travels to the old burnt-down Lars homestead, and she takes Anakin's and Leia's lightsaber, and she wraps them up in this neat little package, and then she opens a hole in the ground and puts it in there. She buries them under the sand. To think that's where the most iconic lightsaber in the saga ends up, on the planet where its creator was enslaved, where his mother was murdered, and basically just 6 feet away from her corpse. And then an old woman wants to know who she is. Rey hesitates for a while before looking to the horizon where she sees the Force ghosts of Luke and Leia, and she says she's Rey Skywalker.
Rey Skywalker.
And that's a wrap, boys. We have officially murdered the franchise. Good job. Drinks are all around.